One of the biggest mistakes that women make during infertility is trying to do everything at once. And honestly, it's understandable because there's so much to this topic. But one of the hardest parts of the whole journey is not so much that you just can't get pregnant. Obviously, that's an issue, but the issue is that eventually things stop making sense. Basically, there's this sense of overload with fertility. Women are checking on social media, they're looking in forums, they're joining forums, they're talking to people, they're reading books, they're talking to their doctors. There's lots of different sources of information, and a lot of it is very believable. Whether it's good or bad is a different question, but a lot of it is very believable. There's therapies to try, there's new supplements to try, and a lot of information is coming from supplement companies. There's which drug I need. There's what dose of the drug do I need. There's all this information that you have to assimilate, and it's coming from all different places. On one forum in Australia, a woman says, I couldn't get pregnant until I upped my progesterone. And somewhere in America, there's a different, maybe a Facebook forum, and a woman is saying, oh, I had too much progesterone, and my doctor never copped on, and my bloods were off, and they didn't know. There's so much information. There's all this different advice on how to fix your hormones, and how to improve your egg quality, and like what book should you read, or what supplement should you take for egg quality or for cervical mucus quality. It's all there. There's tons and tons of it. And as I said, a lot of it sounds very convincing. And the problem is when there's so much information and it all seems important, you don't know what to focus on. That's the problem. That, of course, then leads to this situation where women are sort of, and I say this in inverted commas, like they're trying everything. What do I mean by that? Well, first of all, what drives women to try everything or try, each new thing that they come across? There's a fear that you're going to miss out. There's a fear that time is running out and you have to try things quick. And there's very convincing advice from somebody that says you need to try this or that dose of this, or stop doing that and do this kind of a therapy. And it's like, how do I fit it all in? I need to do it quickly. And the problem with doing things quickly is it activates your nervous system. And that's an issue in itself for fertility. And women in their 40s, they start to feel this enormous pressure. Time is running out. Each month feels very significant and you don't want to let the month waste. So you want to try lots of stuff, and you don't want to go to bed thinking, oh God, what if I had just, rang the doctor and said, what about this? Or if I got onto the supplement company and tried that. The fear is that you'll overlook something important. And so it's like, I want to try everything. That's where the mindset comes from. The issue with this mindset, of course, is that it rolls into this idea of like what you could call an overwhelm loop. You're in an overwhelm, everything's overwhelming. And what do I mean by that? It's like you're researching things all the time. You're reading something that somebody said. It could be a book, could be a forum. And you're acting on what you're seeing, but you don't know if it makes sense. And then you're trying to double check it with other people, maybe on forums. Have you tried this? And that leads to another question, and somebody else somewhere else in the world sees your question and they go, oh, I haven't tried that. Maybe I'll try that. So you're all feeding into each other's sense of like, what about this? What about that? That's where the overwhelm comes from. And you just don't know what's important and what to focus on. You end up second guessing yourself all the time. It's like you go into one cycle and you say, oh, well, I took 25 milligrams of progesterone suppository or something, in the last cycle. Damn it, I'm just after reading something. Maybe I should have taken 50 milligrams. And you're second guessing yourself. It's very understandable and it's very common. But of course, it leads to mental exhaustion. And so the thing that often starts out as hope turns into overwhelm, which is counterproductive. The overwhelm is that you're adding more supplements, or you're tracking more things in your body, or you're, as I say, you're second guessing your decisions, and you're not even sure if the doctor then knows what they're talking about. Maybe they didn't see the information you saw on a particular therapy or supplement or whatever it might be. And eventually the whole thing stops feeling empowering, which is something that infertility should feel. It should feel empowering because yes, it's a serious issue, but you delve deep into yourself to try and fix it, try and figure it out, or to cope with the uncertainty of it. And that delving in creates this, it should at least create this empowering sense within you. But it doesn't. For most women, it leads to overwhelm and mental fatigue. And this, of course, becomes the deeper emotional reality for a lot of women going through infertility. A lot of couples too, but I'm talking to women specifically here, it leads to uncertainty. Uncertainty is like the key thing that you travel with throughout the whole infertility journey, because you just don't know what the outcome is going to be, if there's going to be an outcome, if there's going to be a baby. Uncertainty is almost like the theme music to infertility. But if there's too much uncertainty, it activates the nervous system, it creates fear and doubt, and that's counterproductive. So you need a way to live with the reality of uncertainty, but not let it consume you, or not let it become this thing that keeps you awake at night. And of course, every month, or at least every cycle, it's not every month for every woman, but every cycle, your period comes, it's another sign of failure. It's like, oh my God, everything I've tried didn't work again. And that can be crushing, especially when it rolls on for years and years. For many women, that's what it is. It's years. So it's a repeated pattern of being crushed every month. That is a difficult place to live. And the hardest part, of course, is the not knowing. You're dealing with the uncertainty. You don't know what's wrong, how to fix it, if the thing you're doing is the right thing, if you're focusing on the right things, if your plan even makes sense. There's a lot of not knowing involved. And the brain actually struggles to cope with uncertainty once it gets above a certain level. Now, I will say this, if you can learn to live with an amount of uncertainty in your life in general, even outside of infertility, your life does get better, because life is uncertain and a lot of people run away from uncertainty. The key there is you have to create an internal sense of certainty in yourself, because uncertainty is a reality. But you don't need to be living with too much of this uncertainty with infertility, and there's a way that you can offload a lot of that uncertainty. And it's for all these reasons that I say to women, I say all the time, is that it's not that they're not trying hard enough. Everything I've said, they're trying, learning, asking questions, doing therapies, they're trying hard. And there's also, of course, relationship issues, and there's a trying hard within the relationship, because it definitely affects the relationship. So it's not that women are not trying hard enough, it's that they don't know what to focus on. They don't have a clear path in their head. But ultimately, most women are left to navigate this really complex path by themselves with conflicting information, even from different experts, and loaded information from product sellers, I guess, and even medical therapies. The real problem here is that women are being left to navigate through this enormous complexity with no clear direction, conflicting advice everywhere, and time running out, and a fragmented approach, a try this, try that approach, instead of having a clear path. My priority when I'm dealing with my clients is to have a very grounded approach with a clear path forward based on what's actually important for fertility and for pregnancy. And some of those things that are important now may not be important later, or things that aren't important now may become important later. So my approach with clients is clarity first, focus on what actually matters, which is prioritization basically, in a sea of some really good information, but some really terrible information. Even within the good information, there's a sea of it there. And you need to know what matters to you. What's your focus? So what I'm saying is, it's not that women need more information. Yes, you need some information, sure. But it's not that you need more and more and more information. We're drowning in information, especially in the AI world. There's information everywhere. But what you need is clarity and focus on what actually matters and what matters for you. So you need someone that helps you know, helps you figure out what matters, when it matters, what order it matters in. In other words, what can wait and what must you do now? That's the prioritization issue. And the beauty is that when women stop trying to do everything, stop trying to research everything, stop trying to figure everything out, and stop worrying that they're missing something important, their nervous system settles. That's the real benefit. That's when you begin to give your body that signal that it's actually okay to get pregnant. Before that, your body is thinking, no, it's not time to get pregnant. There's too much uncertainty here. Now, of course, I'm talking about clarity. Clarity doesn't guarantee you an outcome. Nothing guarantees you an outcome. At least nothing that's honest will guarantee you an outcome. This is an uncertain business. There's a certain amount of uncertainty that every woman has to deal with, but it can be manageable. There's a way to do it. It's all the extra uncertainty that you need to offload. So clarity doesn't guarantee you an outcome, but it does change the experience. And changing the experience isn't just something that's good, that feels good, but it actually helps your fertility system work better. It feels good because you stop spinning in circles. You stop jumping from pillar to post, trying everything, all the new things, whatever you might read about, whatever somebody said to you. Somebody saying something to you, even on the street, someone you don't even know said, oh, my friend, she was infertile and she did this. That grabs your attention, but it does create this extra uncertainty because you just don't know. And then you're walking around thinking, Jesus, what if I didn't know that? Maybe, my advisor or my doctor, my IVF guy, whoever it is that you're working with, maybe they don't know. Maybe that's a whole new thing. And that is the case. There's a lot of information that the experts don't know. So it's quite likely that you'll come across something that your doctor didn't even hear about, let alone knows about it enough to advise you on it. That's possible. So it's very alluring, and that's a problem. It's very alluring to be picking up all this kind of what I call fragmented information. So look, that's the way I think about it. If what I'm saying resonates with you, you can check out below the video. I've got a link to 2 things. They're both on my website. One of them is a quiz. There's a quiz there. It's a short quiz. It'll help you orient your mind towards what's actually important now at this point in your journey. And if you're interested in more information, actually some information, some solid scientific information, and if you're interested in knowing how I see the sort of biology and the psychology of infertility and what you can do about it yourself, you'll also see a link to my book on the website. So feel free to check them out, and I hope it helps. Okay, this is Brendan signing off. I'll talk to you again.